Burley, Cabinet audience. We are required to give a quarterly Williams settlement report on telephone complaints. At this time, I'm going to invite Dr. Zabala to come and give the report to the public.
Audience, we're here to present the July 1 to September 30th.
Excuse me, Dr. Zabala. Members of the audience need to be a little bit quieter so we can hear the report. Thank you.
So we're providing the quarterly report between July 1 to September 30th. And I'd like to begin sharing information on instructional materials. We just finished our last school was Compton High School this week, and I'm very pleased to announce that all our Williams visits for instructional materials were sufficient. And so all of them progressed according to our expectation. I want to commend our textbook coordinator, Ms. Janice Manyfield, for doing an excellent job in working with school librarians. They did a tremendous job over the summer to prepare our students to ensure that they all had their books. And so through this process, we were able to ensure that we are fulfilling our commitment to our students and our classrooms. With regards to facilities, we received 56 complaints. Now, mind you, these 56, while there are lots of them, most of them are repeated complaints about certain issues. And so most of them were centered around a couple of schools, and typically they were air conditioning issues. And so other issues that we had were some that we've seen in the past, gopher holes and vermin and so on. And so while we addressed most of them, we weren't able to write it in our report because we submitted this on the 27th. And so since then, most of these issues have been addressed. And so before I move on to the vacancy and misassignments, I was wondering if you had any questions with regards to this.
Yes. Madam Chair, I would like to know, so the 55 unresolved is not accurate?
It's not, at this moment, it isn't accurate.
But it was when the report was written?
Yes.
And most of them were air conditioned? A lot of them?
Yes, well, most of them were in process, and so as we were submitting them, we were forwarding them to the different departments and writing the parents and the people that were complaining. We were writing and telling them what our process was and letting them know that we received it and that they have 45 days for us to ensure that these resolutions were in place. So we did that. We found them to the appropriate department, and then we communicated with the parents.
So as of now, do you know how many of those facilities are resolved, or how many is left?
No, ma'am, but if I may...
But it's less than 55?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Yes.
Mr. Superintendent, I just had a quick question. The 65 complaints, some of these really shouldn't be complaints if principals were walking around, conducting the necessary checks and what have you. So, at some point, I would assume that we begin looking at evaluating individuals based upon the cleanliness of their school. Is that a safe assertion?
I'd have to say it's a little more than that. So let's assume that a significant portion of these were AC units. Okay? Funny thing happens in every school district across the state of California. ACs are working just fine at the end of the school year, and all of a sudden they're broke when you start out at the beginning of the school year. So if there is a process that was implemented district-wide to constantly assess the condition of those AC units throughout the summer, then a lot of these findings would not have been incorporated here. So we would be able to move on that a lot sooner.
Thank you.
And address those deficiencies a lot sooner. So yeah, very similar to what you proposed, but more than that.
Okay, so Mr. Bradley, so looking at restroom uncleanliness, looking at unclean water fountains and things of that sort. Now, of course, gophers, hey, gophers come and go. It's very difficult to chase gophers, okay? I get that. But the principles of walking the grounds and monitoring and working with plant management staff and janitorial staff, wouldn't they catch restroom uncleanliness, unclean water fountains, and things of that sort? Wouldn't they catch that?
They would catch that.
Okay, so at some point, because see, some of this is really visual, to be very honest. And I think that people have become so comfortable and so complacent because they know somebody that they just believe that they don't have to check the restrooms and water fountains, but this is a new day, and so you have Air Joy, you have 88 districts in Los Angeles County. I think folks should begin looking at one of those districts, the next destination. They cannot monitor restrooms, if they cannot clean or ensure that the water fountains are being maintained and so forth. But this is, again, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely bizarre to me. It's just bizarre.
Madam Chair, I just have a comment also. When a person that is supposed to do a job, if they have pride and passion of their job, they don't really need a leader to tell them what to do. That's my opinion. You can put all of them on principals because, you know your job when you go there. The principal shouldn't have to be running behind you to make you clean the restroom and make sure there's paper in the restroom and the water fountain's clean. That's just the bottom line. If they gotta have a job, I'm gonna go to my job and do the best that I can for this day. And if everybody does that, then we'll be just fine with everything.
I was just going to ask, can the superintendent, can you look into, I think about a year ago, we had restroom workers that were temporary employees at some of the high schools. If we can find some universal funding, to bring those positions back, I think that is really useful. Because a lot of our secondary schools are covered. And I guess a lot of these clean restrooms are in secondary, mostly, and they'll probably be a big help. Our plant managers are really, I think, doing the best that they can with the resources that they're getting from the district. And we have to give them extra resources to make sure that they keep our campus team members.
Yes, I would like to be honest. I'm definitely that's people on the cut. Thank you very much. The vice principal of the principal about the education part of our school. Sure, they should walk the campus, you're right. But the plant manager is your job to check behind you and your staff. I know a plant manager that sits out there, and that particular person always was checking behind their staff. That's your job, to check behind your staff. I went to a school, since school opened up, and it was pitiful. But the plant manager was very nice, and he took care of the situation. Now let's be honest, don't skip all the plant managers to go to the vice principal and principal. That's their job. And if you know you need some help, well, what are you sitting down for? You ought to be somewhere out there rallying, holding up a sign, saying, help, I need some help. Then you're going to be doing something about it. I mean, I'm a county employee, but we sure know how to fight. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But the plant workers, they're cut.
Yeah.
They're going to work at 5, and now I'm saying, no way.
and you're the doctor, and you can like anybody else. But a plant manager, you have to go and check. And write down what you check and whatever, and give it to the manager that's over there in the building. That's what you have to do. There comes a time you got to come out there with suit and coat and come back down to the field where you used to be and help share some of the work.
Okay, any other questions or concerns to Dr. Sabala in regards to that?
Madam President, I still have, I may, the last, second to the last.
Okay.
We have 9 teacher vacancies. These are not part of the CLEA teacher vacancies. These are from complaints coming in from parents, and they're basically stemming from 2 different schools that when we looked into it, the schools were still going through the master schedule process, and so they should be done. And so we should now have a certain idea of where they're placed and whether those teachers are assigned accordingly to the content that they're teaching.
Okay.
Madam
Yes,
President, just,
go ahead.
Mr. Zavala, yes, Dr. Zavala, thank you very kindly. Truly appreciate the information that you presented to us. Madam President, Superintendent wasn't here, but I just have to say this for the public record. One of these schools the school protested, the employees protested. And you talk about, you mentioned master schedule building. And many of you on the board know I'm going to go, but I'm not really going to go there because the parents have to understand, and the employees too. We're in a very, very tight time fiscally. Very tight. Major deficit within the U.S. The state has a significant deficit, and all districts are pretty much choked fiscally. If you know in the depth of your heart you cannot build a master schedule, then ask to go back to a classroom. To volunteer. Because now we have an overcrowded situation where we have to make amendments. Students have to be overcrowded, impacted academically. If you know you don't know, just raise your hand and say you don't know. But our students are suffering because individuals seem to do not know things that they should know once they reach a certain level within the managerial construct of a school, especially in high school. So, Madam President, I just want to give a quick PSA on that piece, and hopefully that will permeate somewhere. The superintendent, Dr. Ajala, and a bunch of the folks in leadership will understand. Look to make sure that we place people who know and can do it all. Because what happened at one of the middle schools is an abomination and abysmal. Thank you.
Thank you. I did. Are you finished? Because I wanted, you indicated that some of this was competitive.
Yes.
Okay. I know a year or so ago we had an issue at Davis Middle with the birds and all, the whole gamut over there. So is this a repeat situation at Davis regarding that? Because I thought we resolved that issue and figured out how to alleviate the bird situation. So is that something that's reoccurring?
It's reoccurring. It was addressed last year. They did put mesh over wherever the burrow was, and so they did cover it. But I guess the birds reopened it, and so they're back in there, and so it became a recurring problem. I trust that that has been resolved again. It's just a matter of keeping an eye on that area of the school.
Because once it's done properly, then it doesn't reoccur.
It shouldn't reoccur, yes. And unfortunately, I know that it was resolved last year. I know they put the mesh in there. you know, I don't know how it was that the birds came back and made themselves another.
Pretty smart.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I just know that issue was really.
That's how he survived.
And I went over there and said, you remember that? It was really just horrible. And, you know, they did resolve it. But it can't be in that same condition.
Madam President?
I mean, that particular condition should be, yes.
Since we're talking about facilities, can we get an update or progress on
Mike,
Progress on the tracks at our high school.
yeah, the tracks at the high schools? They've never been in compliance as far as being able to hold a track meet over there. They're falling apart now. Are we planning on doing something to fix that situation? Or we just
I would have to turn that over to Director.
Oh, okay. I was just asking because we're talking about facilities and things like that. I know all of our high schools have the tracks put in at the same time. They've never been in compliance, and now they're filling them off the ground.
You know, I visited Compton High School yesterday, and it was obvious from looking at the track that the track is out of compliance. You can tell. In terms of how the track was laid, that it was not done the right way, and there's no way
Wow.
to ever meet CIF compliance. So there was some significant
Never
issues
right.
that need to be addressed as it pertains to that particular portion of the facilities at the high schools.
Okay. Yes. Mr. Riley, thank you for going over some of the aisle and as well.
I've been,
Maybe with all of it, and it's been going for a while. So, you know, I keep on this to you, and I'm hoping that we can find some way for us to really resolve it, because wouldn't we also be out of compliance when we Title IX?
not necessarily.
For the CIF? Okay, any further members of the board? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.